Dragon Veils. Welcome back to my channel, and once again, we're going to go over Hazbin Hotel. This time around, I thought it'd be best to talk about a parallel between two character arcs, namely that of Sera and Lute, because they don't seem to be talked about as much. Now, these are two angels that just found out that redemption is possible, and they are being bared with the same consequence when it comes to Season 2. But the question is, how is it handled? Basically, they're two different angels with a similar consequence, but how their characters are handled is going in two separate directions. And that's what I'm going to discuss in this video. So without further ado, let's begin.
Righteously leading our people, but now I'm faced with the truth. What kind of leader can't tell good from evil? All those
When Sera first learned about redemption in Hazbin Hotel, she was a cynic, much like Lute. However, her world was rocked when Sir Pentious actually appeared toward the end of Season 1. Shell-shocked by this, she was in some major denial, and I guess you wouldn't exactly blame her for that. But when she learned about Sir Pentious' story of how he wound up in hell and of how he got redeemed, this is where the reality of the situation and the actions that had led up to this point hit her hard. Of course, with Sera's confession, this highlights more of the idea and the concept of her ingesting more of her guilt and feeling bad about her choices up until now, regretting allowing Adam the exterminations in the first place, regretting Lute getting out of hand. However, she's still struggling to understand of what it means to change for the better, as well as try to improve things for heaven. However, one of the things that definitely highlighted her struggle is this.
Yearly activities, I thought it would bring trouble to our doorstep. Keeping heaven safe was my only reason for allowing it.
What do you want from me? I'm just one guy.
Not only did it hint that Sera was never into Adam's extermination idea from the get-go, but it also shows of how much that she was just in a very difficult position. I don't care of how many times I say this, but we don't know the full story of what led her to this decision. But one thing is definitely clear, she was only just trying to do what was best for heaven. However, this well-meaning attempt was met with a huge backlash that progressed further into Season 2. And she's desperately trying to search for guidance and try to strengthen herself. But no matter how hard she tried to be strong, it was growing difficult by the day. But one of the few things you get to see in terms of her arc, she decides to listen to Emily for once, and actually tries to open up more about the concept of trying to give redemption a try, even listening to Charlie for a bit. However, it wasn't until when Sir Pentious actually met her at her most vulnerable was where Sera finally understood about how humans are similar to her own emotions, how they always fear of death and they need to survive. She's an immortal being. She never has to worry about dying. However, with these souls, and now learning that someone like Adam can die, this is hard for her to deal with. And this is increasing the amount of pressure on her. But now learning from Sir Pentious' point of view of what it means to be truly brave, this is where her decisions become more rational, and she decides to even put her foot down towards Lute and try to utilize her soldier in the safest way possible without creating any more complications that already have arisen.
what she took away.
Yes, Lute's song just basically summarizes of her arc at this point. It gets darker, and even though she didn't have a whole lot of screen time in the way that we hoped it would, it doesn't change the fact that we find ourselves actually fearing for the worst, that we find ourselves seeing Lute spiraling out of control after losing Adam, her own identity to who she is as an individual, and on top of that, having to work under the semi-useless son of Abel, the pacifist of the two. because of this only just leads her to more anger and frustration, being held back and wanting nothing more than to get revenge on the people who screwed her over in the first place. Instead of acknowledging this, and a lot of fans have been pointing out, that this is where she doubles down, where she makes a vow that she'll get her vengeance, whether not now, but pretty much later in season 3, it's a fair bet. But one thing definitely remains clear. Throughout the series, she just begins to hate more of heaven and the newfound regulations, allowing scum, or like sinners like Sir Pentious, to actually roam around her. This is no longer a question of doing what's best for heaven, but it feels more like a superiority thing. She sees sinners as people to look down on, filth that she's more than happy to get rid of just for the sake of the enjoyment. As Adam had said, it's entertainment. So this is where it hints further down the line, and it makes more sense that with her character doubling down, because she's very condescending and ruthless, and not above getting her hands dirty, even if it means trying to do Adam's approval or go against the Speaker of Heaven, which I'm pretty sure we'll witness firsthand. So what do you guys think of the parallels? Do you think there's anything else to discuss about this? Do a like and subscribe. This is Dragon Veos signing off.